Hey everybody, and welcome to Game 3 of our Melek vs. Ruric matchup. If you missed Game 1 or Game 2, be sure to go back and check those out first. Once again, we will be playing by the French 1v1 Commander rules. You can check those out in the description. Be sure to watch until the end, as Brian and I are going to discuss our thoughts on the matchup. And so, let's jump right into this final game, with Brian playing Ruric Thar the Unbowed, myself playing Melek Izzet Paragon. Brian started off her hand with Brooding Saurian, Hero of Oxid Ridge, Hellraiser Goblin, Somberwald Sage, Firelit Thicket, Reflecting Pool, and a Naya Panorama. My opening hand contained Peer Through Depths, Counterspell, Cryptic Command, Steam Vents, Scalding Tarn, and 2 islands. Brian started off with Firelit Thicket. I followed, putting a Steam Vents into play tapped. Brian then played Naya Panorama. I played an island for turn, and at my end step, Brian sacked her Panorama to find a forest. Brian played a Reflecting Pool for turn and tapped out to cast Somberwald Sage, but I countered it with a Counterspell. On my turn, I played an island, thought for a moment, and passed. Brian missed a land drop on her turn and tapped out to cast Hell's Thunder. I didn't answer, so she swung and hit me for 4. At the end of Brian's turn, I cast Peer Through Depths, finding and empty the Warrens and putting it into my hand. I played a Scalding Tarn for turn and cast Mystic Speculation with buyback, scrying 3. On Brian's turn, she cast a Gruul Guildgate and then cast Hellraiser Goblin, going to combat, hitting me for 2. My land drop was Maze of Ith. I cast no spells and passed the turn. Brian missed another land drop on her turn and tapped out for Hero of Oxid Ridge, which I countered with Flash Freeze. She then swung at me for 2 with Hellraiser Goblin, and I used Maze of Ith's ability to stop the Goblin. I played a Desolate Lighthouse for turn. I cast Mystic Speculation with buyback again, scrying another 3 cards. Brian put a mountain onto the battlefield and cast Lana Warels. She then cast Brooding Saurian, taking her whole team to combat thanks to Hellraiser. I mazed the Saurian and took 3 points of damage. Brian ended her turn. I didn't play any lands on my turn, thought for a moment, and let the turn pass back. Brian played no lands in her turn and cast Molten Tail Masticore, but I cast Cryptic Command, countering the creature spell and bouncing Hellraiser Goblin. Brian then went to combat, swinging at me with her dudes. I took care of Saurian with Maze of Ith and got pinged for 1 by the elf. I played an island for turn and decided to sack Scalding Tarn to find a mountain. I then tapped an island to just cast Mystic Speculation. After scrying 3, I tapped the rest of my mana producing lands to cast Time Warp. I started my next turn without a land drop. I paid 2 to cast Pyroclasm, killing Brian's Lana Warels, and hopefully keeping her off of Ruric for a turn. I then cast Empty the Warrens, and with Storm, I got 4 1/1 goblins. I then passed the turn. Unfortunately, my Pyroclasm was in vain, because Brian top-decked a mountain. She then tapped out to cast Ruric Thar, and since I didn't have any mana open for counters, it resolved. She attacked with Saurian, and I immediately mazed it. On my turn, I tapped 6 to cast Melek, revealing a lightning bolt from the top of my library. I ended my turn. Brian untapped and went straight to combat, swinging at me with both of her dudes. I mazed the Ruric and chump blocked the Saurian with one of my tokens. Main phase 2, she cast Mad Prophet and used his activated ability, discarding Vexing Shusher to draw a card. She followed that up with Crimson Mage before passing the turn. On my upkeep, I cast Lightning Bolt from the top of my library, shooting Ruric twice for a total of 6, killing him and taking 6 damage myself. I ended my turn. Brian played a mountain for turn. She activated Mad Prophet again, discarding Vengevine and drawing another card. She chose not to attack and passed her turn. I started my turn playing a Tectonic Edge and used it to blow up Brian's Reflecting Pool. I ended. Brian played a forest for turn and cast Hellraiser Goblin. In response, I cast Jilt, bouncing Mad Prophet and killing Crimson Mage. Brian recast Mad Prophet, which allowed her to put Vengevine onto the battlefield from the graveyard. She then swung at me with her team. I cast Downsize from the top of my library, targeting Vengevine and the Saurian. I blocked the Hellraiser Goblin with Melek and mazed the Mad Prophet. Brian passed the turn. I cast Dragon Fodder on my turn, getting 2 more goblins, and ended the turn. Brian cast Dosen the Falling Leaf on her turn, which I countered with Remove Soul. She then went to combat with Vengevine and Saurian. I decided to maze the Vengevine and used 4 goblins to trade with the Saurian. I drew, revealing Reiterate, thought for a moment, and passed. Brian played an Ancient Ziggurat on her turn and immediately cast Ruric Thar, but in response I cast Starstorm for 3, clearing the board of everything except Melek and Ruric themselves. I drew and flipped a Bluster Squall on top of my library. I passed. Brian played a Forest main phase 1 and had to attack with Ruric, but I took care of him with Maze of Ith. Brian then cast Huntmaster of the Fells, gaining 2 life and getting a 2/2 wolf. At the end of Brian's turn, I activated Desolate Lighthouse to draw a card and discard a card. I drew and revealed Reset on the top of my library. I decided to cast no spells on my turn, knowing that that would allow Huntmaster to flip to Ravager. When Huntmaster flipped on Brion's upkeep, she shot Melek for 2 and me for 2. She then went to combat, swinging at me with her team. I mazed Ruric and blocked the Ravager, losing Melek. I took 2 off of the Wolf token, and so post-combat Brion cast Null Spine Dragon, discarding her hand of 0 cards and drawing 2. The dragon forced me to cast Evacuation at the end of her turn to clear Brion's board. I drew, played no spells on my turn, and passed. Brion played Raging Ravine on her turn and cast Ruric Thar once again, getting him countered by Essence Scatter. She then cast Strangleroot Geist, swinging at me for 2 but getting stopped by Maze of Ith. At the end of turn, I used Desolate Lighthouse to draw a card and discard Reset. I played a Dust Bowl for turn and waited on destroying any lands. Hoping for a counterspell, I activated Desolate Lighthouse to draw a card and discard a mountain. With no counterspells, a handful of red spells, and only blue mana open, I passed the turn back to Brion. Brion didn't hesitate to cast Ruric Thar yet again and ran her Geist into my maze. I played a mountain for turn and cast Melek, hopelessly attempting to stay alive for a turn. When Brion's turn came back around, she played Kessig Wolfrun, sealing the deal and the match. 2-1 Ruric. Well, and that is the end of quite an interesting matchup and a few weeks of playtesting, a few weeks of deck building. I'm fairly pleased with how it ended up. Melek really was the underdog in the matchup from the very beginning.
Even though it kind of took you a while to figure out how to build your deck, once you had that figured out, you were doing pretty well in playtesting, so I didn't feel like it was just a bad matchup. I felt like you actually had a pretty good chance because, I mean, there are a lot of cards that once you cast them, I have no answer, like Bribery, for one.
Well, you have Gaia's Revenge.
But even Gaia's Revenge can be Mindbreak trapped or time stopped. I don't think I've won a game where you've resolved a Bribery.
But I think in multiplayer, even with a no creature restriction on Melek, I think it could still be really powerful, adding just a few artifacts.
And as for me, I'm going to keep Ruric all creatures for multiplayer. Now, that isn't the best way to build Ruric, because honestly, you need to protect him, and to do that, you probably need some equipment. But I like it just because it's really cool, and I get to play a lot of cards I normally wouldn't. Even if you're playing a few equipments, you play green, you have some lifelink, you strap a Loxodon Warhammer on him, you're good to go. Yeah, because see, you guys just got to see 3 games, whereas we've had weeks of playtesting. We've kind of learned this matchup inside out, and it's actually a really fun matchup because it takes a lot of thought on both sides. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this matchup. It was a lot of fun for us to do, a lot of fun for us to build, a lot of work. It was lots of fun, and we're glad that we were able to do it for you guys. As always, I'm Karston. And I'm Brion.
And thanks for watching.